Complaint for declaratory and injunctive relief pursuant to 42 USC, Section 1983. Jury trial demanded. Introduction. 1. This is a civil action brought pursuant to 42 USC, Section 1983, seeking declaratory and injunctive relief against the Honorable Adrienne Thomas McCoy, in her official capacity as a judge of the Superior Court of King County, and against King County Municipal Corporation for actions taken under color of state law that have deprived plaintiff of rights secured by the Constitution and laws of the United States. 2. Plaintiff Miriam Zayas, plaintiff, alleges that defendant judge Adrienne Thomas McCoy, defendant judge, has acted and continues to act without jurisdiction over plaintiff in juvenile dependency proceedings concerning plaintiff's minor child, AZ, in violation of plaintiff's constitutional rights to due process under the 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution. 3. This complaint constitutes a pleading under Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 7A. 2. Jurisdiction and venue. 4. This court has subject matter jurisdiction over this action pursuant to 28 U.S.C. Section 1331, as this action arises under the Constitution and laws of the United States, specifically the 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution and 42 U.S.C. Section 1983. 5. This court has jurisdiction over plaintiff's civil rights claims pursuant to 28 U.S.C. Section 1343, A, 3, and 4, which confer original jurisdiction on federal district courts in suits to redress the deprivation of rights secured by the Constitution and federal law. 6. Venue is proper in the Western District of Washington because all defendants reside within this district, and a substantial part of the events or omissions giving rise to the claims occurred within this district. 7. This court has personal jurisdiction over the defendants because they reside and conduct business within the state of Washington and this judicial district. 3. Parties. 8. Plaintiff Miriam Zayas is a natural person and resident of King County, Washington. She is the biological mother of AZ, a minor child, who is the subject of juvenile dependency proceedings in the Superior Court of King County, Washington. Plaintiff resides at Issaquah, Washington, 98029. Defendant Judge Adrienne Thomas McCoy is sued in her official capacity as a judge of the Superior Court of King County, Washington, at all times relevant to this complaint. Defendant Judge was acting under color of state law in her capacity as a judicial officer employed by King County, Washington. She is being sued solely for declaratory and injunctive relief. 10. Defendant King County Municipal Corporation is a political subdivision of the state of Washington that operates and maintains the Superior Court of King County. King County Municipal Corporation employs defendant judge and is responsible for the policies, practices, and customs of the Superior Court of King County. 4. Statement of facts. 11. Plaintiff is the biological mother of AZ, born September 9, 2021, who is currently 4 years old. 12. On or about May 2, 2024, juvenile dependency proceedings were initiated concerning plaintiff's minor child, AZ, in the Superior Court of King County, Washington, under case number 24-7-01174-7 SEA. 13. Defendant judge has presided over these juvenile dependency proceedings and has issued various orders purporting to require plaintiff's participation in the proceedings, including, but not limited to: A. A shelter care order issued on or about May 2, 2024, and B. A dependency review order issued on many different days. Plaintiff can retrieve this information at discovery. 14. Plaintiff initially appeared in the dependency proceedings, but subsequently determined that the court lacked jurisdiction over her as a defendant under Washington's juvenile dependency statutes. 15. On May 2, 2024, plaintiff concluded that defendant judge lacked jurisdiction over her as a defendant in the juvenile dependency proceedings. 16. Since that time, plaintiff has not participated in the dependency proceedings and has not complied with any court orders issued by defendant judge that purport to require her participation or compliance with services, case plans, or other directives. 17. Despite plaintiff's non-participation and objections to jurisdiction, defendant judge has continued to issue orders purporting to exercise jurisdiction over plaintiff, with the most recent action occurring on or about July 2025. 18. Plaintiff has filed appeals or motions in state Supreme Court challenging defendant judge's jurisdiction, but these challenges have been denied or remain pending. 19. Plaintiff contends that under Washington's Juvenile Court Act, defendant judge lacks jurisdiction to compel plaintiff's participation in dependency proceedings without plaintiff's consent. 20. Plaintiff further contends that the Juvenile Court Act, as indicated in its title and statutory framework, pertains to juveniles and not to parents, and that defendant judge has exceeded her statutory authority by attempting to exercise jurisdiction over plaintiff. 21. Defendant judge's continued exercise of purported jurisdiction over plaintiff, despite the clear statutory limitations on such jurisdiction, constitutes an ongoing violation of plaintiff's constitutional rights to due process under the 14th Amendment. V. Causes of action. Count I. Violation of civil rights under 42 USC Section 1983, due process. 22. Plaintiff incorporates by reference all preceding paragraphs as if fully set forth herein. 23. The 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution provides that no state shall deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. 24. 42 USC Section 1983 provides that any person who, under color of state law, subjects any citizen of the United States to the deprivation of any rights, privileges, or immunities secured by the Constitution and laws shall be liable to the party injured. At all times relevant to this complaint, defendant judge was acting under color of state law in her capacity as a judicial officer of the Superior Court of King County. Defendant judge has deprived plaintiff of her liberty interests without due process of law by a. Exercising jurisdiction over plaintiff without statutory authority, b. Issuing orders purporting to require plaintiff's participation in dependency proceedings without legal authority to do so. C. Failing to provide plaintiff with proper notice and opportunity to be heard regarding the court's jurisdiction over her as a parent. And D. Continuing to exercise purported jurisdiction over plaintiff despite clear statutory limitations on such jurisdiction. 27. Defendant judge's actions exceed her jurisdiction under Washington's Juvenile Court Act, specifically RCW 13.04.030 and RCW Chapter 13.34, which limit the court's jurisdiction to juveniles and do not confer jurisdiction over parents without their consent. 28. RCW 1334.110 specifically requires parental agreement for the court to exercise certain authority, and defendant judge has exceeded this statutory limitation by attempting to exercise jurisdiction over plaintiff without her consent. 29. When a judge acts in the complete absence of jurisdiction, the protection of judicial immunity does not apply to claims for declaratory or injunctive relief. 30. Defendant King County Municipal Corporation, as the employer of defendant judge and operator of the Superior Court of King County, is responsible for the policies, practices, and customs that have resulted in the violation of plaintiff's constitutional rights. 31. As a direct and proximate result of defendant's actions, plaintiff has suffered and continues to suffer violations of her constitutional rights to due process under the 14th Amendment. V. Prayer for relief. Wherefore, plaintiff respectfully requests that this court a. Assume jurisdiction over this matter. 1. Defendant judge lacks jurisdiction over plaintiff in the juvenile dependency proceedings concerning plaintiff's minor child. 2. defendant judge's exercise of purported jurisdiction over plaintiff violates plaintiff's constitutional rights to due process under the 14th Amendment. And 3. Orders issued by defendant judge purporting to require plaintiff's participation in dependency proceedings are void for lack of jurisdiction. C. Issue preliminary and permanent injunctive relief. 1. Enjoining defendant judge from exercising jurisdiction over plaintiff in the juvenile dependency proceedings. 2. Ordering defendant judge to dismiss all claims and proceedings against plaintiff in the juvenile dependency case. And 3. Prohibiting defendant judge from issuing any further orders purporting to require plaintiff's participation in the dependency proceedings. D. Pursuant to Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 5.1, certify to the Attorney General of the United States and the Attorney General of Washington that the constitutionality of Washington's Juvenile Court Act, as applied to plaintiff, has been drawn into question. E. Award plaintiff her costs and reasonable attorneys' fees as provided by law. And F. Grant such other and further relief as this court deems just and proper. Very. Miriam Zayas. Verify under penalty of perjury under the laws of the United States of America that the foregoing is true and correct to the best of my knowledge, information, and belief. Executed on this 13th day of September, 2025.